Thank you for joining us on Newsbeat. Check out our top stories.
Loved ones are mourning the loss of a Nordstrom employee after a former relationship turns deadly. Why some say it could have been prevented. And
an elderly couple doesn't make it to Thanksgiving dinner after a tragedy inside this Southwest Side home. We'll tell you what happened. Plus,
a remarkable discovery. A boy missing for 4 years has been found safe. We'll tell you where he was hidden. These stories and more. Newsbeat starts right now. Good morning. Today is December 2nd, 2014. I'm Jessica Lang.
And I'm Charles Jefferson. Welcome to Newsbeat. Let's get into our first story. Family, friends, and co-workers are mourning the loss of the Nordstrom employee shot while working on Black Friday.
They remembered Nazia Azaldine at her funeral yesterday. Priscilla Lopez is live in the newsroom with details on how the tragic incident unfolded. Priscilla?
Thanks, guys. The shooting is tragic enough. A young woman killed, hoping to go to law school, the shooter committing suicide, all in front of workers and shoppers. But now people are critical of the police, saying this could have been avoided.
Marcus D. headed to the Nordstrom store in River North on Black Friday, but not to shop. Instead, he fatally shot his ex-girlfriend.
I think that there's a lot of screwed up people, and he was wanting to send a statement, and he did.
Some say this could have happened to anyone and wonder whether it could have been prevented.
It can happen to anybody, but there are a lot of crimes here and everything, so I don't think that it's like something very surprising, but still it's very sad. And yeah, I think there should be more security here or something, I don't know.
The fact that an armed man could enter a major retail store on one of the busiest days of shopping has sparked concern among many consumers.
If you go shopping, then it's better if you go like on daytime.
But others say tragedies like this one just happen.
That can happen anywhere. So we can't live our life in a bubble, or otherwise we don't live life. So you have to just be observant to their surroundings, but you can't live scared.
Police superintendent says Dee had a valid FOID card before, so the investigation may take a bit longer.
A seasonal employee here at Nordstrom, she was working up on the second floor. When he approached her, fired one shot which struck her. He then turned the gun to himself and shot and killed himself.
The shooter is the son of 2 Chicago police officers. His family is said to be shocked and distraught. The family of the victim is looking into ways to prevent this from happening to younger women. I'm Priscilla Lopez reporting live in the newsroom. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you, Priscilla. An elderly couple died over the weekend after they were poisoned by carbon monoxide in their South Shore home. Newsbeat's Kiana Johnson has more on this tragedy and how it could have been prevented.
An ambulance waited across the street, but it was too late. An elderly couple was found inside this home dead of carbon monoxide poisoning. Police were called to do a wellness check when they didn't show up for Thanksgiving. Now this tragedy could have been prevented if a heating check had been done in the home. Here are some safety tips. Clean the furnace, especially the air ducts. Also buy good filters like these with tight coils. Make sure the thermostat works too. Many people say they forget about this during the winter, and others say they stay on top of it.
Once every 2 years I get it tuned up and check for leaks. And I have a carbon monoxide detector in my hallway. So I'm not too worried myself, but people should do that.
But I know that we got ours checked in the summer because we didn't have air conditioning, but we have an AC unit. So then they checked both the furnace, the vents, and the AC.
Finally, do a safety check on yourself and don't forget about the elderly. I'm Kiana Johnson for Newsbeat.
Meanwhile, in Chicago, the protests over the Michael Brown decision continued. Angry protesters lashed out at police officers, hoping to shed light on police misconduct and brutality.
So why the f*** are we stopping on the sidewalk? these police! This is real! We are fighting for our life, black men!
3 people were arrested at the protest that started at State and Jackson in the South Loop. 57-year-old Richard Newberger was charged with 1 felony count of aggravated battery to a police officer. He was arrested near State and Jackson where the protest began, and 2 63-year-old women were also arrested during the protest, both charged with obstructing traffic. The jury's decision not to indict former Ferguson officer Darren Wilson for the death of Michael Brown has sparked protests throughout the country. And while most people rushed to the malls to shop for Black Friday deals, protesters took to the malls for another agenda to demand justice for Michael Brown.
The aftermath of Ferguson's grand jury decision continued as demonstrators across the country boycotted the holiday, calling it Brown Friday instead. One of St. Louis's most popular shopping malls, the Galleria, was closed for more than an hour when over 100 protesters took to the shopping center to demand justice. Police across the country arrested people in St. Louis, Seattle, and San Francisco after protests quickly grew violent, causing damage to some store windows. Those stores were forced to close early. But here in Chicago, the Black Youth Project rallied on the Magnificent Mile peacefully. Demonstrators didn't block hopeful shoppers from entering Water Tower Place or other stores on the mile. Instead, they encouraged them to not support the holiday and join the fight for economic freedom.
Darren Wilson will no longer be a member of the Ferguson Police Force. The police announced Wilson's resignation on Saturday night. Now, this comes just days after a grand jury decided not to indict Wilson after fatally shooting unarmed teen Michael Brown in August. The 28-year-old officer decided to resign after members of the police department were receiving threats against them. In his letter, Wilson writes, "I, Darren Wilson, hereby resign my commission as a police officer with the city of Ferguson effective immediately. I have been told that my continuing employment may put the residents and police officers of the city of Ferguson at risk, which is a circumstance that I cannot allow." Wilson has been an officer with the Ferguson Police Department for 6 years.
Chicago's overnight winter parking ban is in full swing. Just ask one of the 239 drivers whose car was towed during the first morning of the ban yesterday. Snow or not, parking is banned on stretches of popular streets such as Milwaukee Avenue, MLK Drive, and Division Street from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. Cars illegally parked face a $150 towing fee, $60 ticket, and $20 a day storage fee. To see a map of all streets included, you can go to the city's website. The overnight parking ban runs through April 1st of next year.
Coming up, shocking new details of why an American couple is now allowed to leave the Middle East after being accused of murdering their own child. Plus, after being held captive for 4 traumatic years, this teen and his mom finally reunite, where he was found next.
And unruly protesters flood the streets of Hong Kong, why citizens are outraged. Those stories and more after the break. Protests continue to escalate in Hong Kong. Citizens are fighting for the right to choose their leaders in the 2017 elections. Protesters have been taking the streets for 2 months armed in hard hats, masks, and umbrellas. Protesters stormed past police lines. Hong Kong's chief executive is issuing a warning to protesters. He says that excessive disruptions will not be tolerated. Over the weekend, more than 200 people were arrested. An American couple prosecuted for killing the daughter is free to go. A Qatari appeals court acquitted the parents of neglecting their 8-year-old. Last January, Matthew and Grace Huang of Los Angeles were initially found guilty of child endangerment. Their adopted daughter, Gloria, died of starvation. Following Sunday's acquittal, the couple is on their way home. They will be reunited with their 2 adopted sons. The Huang said their 8-year-old daughter had a pattern of self-starvation, and that caused her death.
After 4 long years, a Florida mother is reunited with her 13-year-old son, who was reported missing. Clayton County Police say the teen was found behind a fake wall in the house in Atlanta. He was hungry and cold, wearing only towels. Police arrested and charged the teen's father, 37-year-old Gregory Jean, and his stepmother, 42-year-old Samantha Joy Davis, with false imprisonment, cruelty to children, and obstruction. 3 more people were also charged in connection with the incident.
Coming up next, holiday cheer is on the rise. Find out why crowds were gathered outside this historic building late Saturday night. the fantastic show they saw next.
Plus, a classic film makes its way back into the holiday season, how fans in Chicago are commemorating an all-time favorite movie. David Beckham has been involved in a car accident after picking up his son Brooklyn from football practice in London on Saturday. Beckham's Audi was struck head-on by a vehicle approaching at high speed. Former England captain was said to be shaken after the crash, but fortunately he walked away unharmed with his son. The star's family certainly has been blessed to still be alive.
More fallout for Bill Cosby in the wake of the sexual assault scandal. The comedian agreed to cut ties with his alma mater following allegations that Cosby drugged and raped several women. In a statement, a spokesman for the University of Massachusetts Amherst said, Bill Cosby has agreed to resign as an honorary co-chair of UMass Amherst Capital Campaign. He no longer has any affiliation with the campaign, nor does he serve in any capacity for the university. The decision comes after two other universities also severed their relationships with Cosby.
Well, Jessica, on a much lighter note in Hollywood, The Sound of Music continues to be an all-time favorite classic.
This holiday season, fans from the Chicagoland area are bringing the movie back to life. It looks like Newsbeat's Mei-Ling Jing brought some of these fun moments back from the Music Box Theater in Chicago. Right, Mei-Ling?
That's right. That's right, guys. The classic film The Sound of Music is back at the Chicago Music Box Theater for the whole family to sing along during the holiday season. The fans are definitely excited about the movie showing with the different interactions. Let's take a peek at the event that happened this past Saturday.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Celebrating Thanksgiving with the sound of music, fans return to the yearly tradition at the Chicago's Music Box Theater. It has been shown for nearly a decade. And now, this annual event is shown for 2 weekends.
It's one of the few films I'll watch over and over. I don't like to watch movies like multiple times, but this one I will.
A female deer, weigh a drop of golden sun.
The fun actually starts with a vocal warm-up led by the host. Then, of course, the character costume competition part is what many audiences enjoy as well.
The costume contest was fun last year, and last year my daughter was Gretel. And as she watched the movie, she said, next year I want to be a puppet. So there's a kind of a famous puppet song in the film, so we did this.
Music Box Theater is hoping to keep the tradition and fun times for the Sound of Music fans. I'm Mei-Ling Jin for Columbia College Newsbeat.
As you can see, it has been almost 50 years since the Sound of Music was made, but the music has remained as a legend. I'm Mei-Ling Jin on the entertainment beat for Newsbeat. Back to you guys.
Might have to go check that out, Mei-Ling. Thank you.
I know.
All right, thanks, Mei-Ling. Another Hollywood blockbuster now wants to give more to its fans. At first, the idea of creating a sequel to Disney's Frozen was given the cold shoulder, but now it looks like some Hollywood execs have warmed up to the idea. Idina Menzel, who sang the movie's Oscar-winning song, Let It Go, told reporters that plans are in the works. The original grossed more than $1 billion, making it the highest-grossing animated film of all time. No word on when the sequel will be out.
Well, speaking of Frozen, we may be in for some cold weather ahead.
We definitely lucked out this weekend with those warm temperatures. We have Patricia Boskin here with your full weather forecast. Patricia?
Yeah, well, we all know just how unpredictable Chicago weather can be. It might have felt a little more like spring this past holiday weekend, but things will be changing this week. Let's take a look outside. And we have the Buckingham Fountain. Not too long ago, the sun was still gleaming down on it, but don't let it fool you. It is still very cold out there. And let's take a look at today's temperatures. We're at a high of 34 degrees. We've got mostly sunny skies and a low of 27. Tonight, temperatures will reach upper 20s, but let's stay positive. Even though we have partly sunny skies, we've got those winds coming from the south, southeast, up, and those are coming at 10 to 15 miles per hour. And let's take a look at the area temperatures. Midway, there's a 10-degree difference between the high of 36 and the low of 26. O'Hare, Waukegan, you're at 33. Aurora, Lansing at 34. But Bartlett and Aurora, you are going to be at our lowest temperatures for the area at 23 degrees Fahrenheit. And now as we move on to our 5-day, if you're looking for some sun, you're going to get some tomorrow. We're going to have a high of 35 degrees, a low of 25, but the sun will go on a little bit of a hiatus on Thursday and Friday as we will have gray skies and low temperatures of 32 and 34 degrees. Saturday, we're going to have a high of 37 degrees, partly cloudy skies, and Sunday we will still have some sunshine peeking through, and in Chicago, sometimes that's all we need to make the difference.
Just a little bit of vitamin D, right, Patricia?
Just a little bit. I'm convinced that's all we need.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Patty.
you.
Thank you.
If you were in New Orleans over the weekend, Gallia Hall was the place to be. Things are lighting up in New Orleans, and details on why Gallia Hall had visitors in shock over the weekend and still ahead.
The Bulls end their 7-game road trip on a positive note. Newsbeat's Ashley Richardson will have details on the game. The college community is in shock why head injuries are once again shaking up the world of college football.
Newsbeat's Ashley Richardson is here with an update. Ashley, what's the latest?
Thank you, guys. Ohio State ended their season with a win against Michigan, but a huge loss off the field is leaving a hole in the hearts of many at Ohio State University. Buckeyes defensive tackle Costa Karageorge was found dead Sunday. His body was found in a dumpster with a gun nearby. Police say that they believe he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Karageorge has struggled with multiple concussions and confusion spells over his wrestling and football careers. The 22-year-old missed senior day Saturday in a game against rival Michigan. Hundreds attended a candlelight vigil for the Ohio State players Sunday night. Now, Green Bay took on the Patriots at historic Lambeau Field. Watch this. Aaron Rodgers pump fakes and throws the ball to tight end Richard Rodgers. Rodgers with a touchdown. New England answers back with a touchdown of their own, and a game back and forth between the NFL's top quarterbacks ends with a victory for Green Bay. Final score, 26-21. The Bulls take on the Brooklyn Nets on the road. Derrick Rose had 14 points, but the real star of the game was Jimmy Butler. Butler dominated on both sides of the ball, scoring 26 points for the Bulls, making this his 11th game of the season with 20 or more points. Gasol added on with 25 points and 13 rebounds. Bulls win 102-84. The Bulls take on the Mavericks tonight at home. Now, real quick, Nebraska has fired head coach Bo Pelini after 7 seasons. Next, Kobe Bryant is the first NBA player to have 30,000 points and 6,000 assists. And finally, Sports Illustrated named Little League star Monet Davis Sports Kid of the Year. Now, guys, that Patriots-Green Bay game was so good, so good. I hope we see that matchup in the Super Bowl. It'll be an eventful game.
Well, the Bears haven't been that good anyway, so
So,
we ain't
all
going to
right,
talk about
thanks,
that.
Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks, guys.
Things are lighting up in New Orleans.
That's right. Visitors were in for a treat when the historic Gallier Hall transformed into a colorful spectacle.
Colorful lights, a giant glowing canvas, and hundreds of fast-paced animation images cover the hall's 70-foot tall facade late Saturday night. It's all thanks to a French light art company called Les Museums Productions. A team of video technicians lit up St. Charles Avenue with a 9-minute computer-generated show filled with music and dreamlike silhouettes. Crowds gathered and watched the free show in awe of the abstract. Nice time for everyone.
Wow, I wish I could have been there to see that.
Yeah,
Looks
that
pretty
would've been
cool.
nice.
All right, well, thank you for joining us today here on Newsbeat. I am Jessica Lane.
And I'm Charles Shepson. We enjoyed your company. See you next time on Newsbeat.